In this video, I'll be reviewing the Parkside Foldable Workbench. Let's get right to it. On past projects, I've been using a simple chair and table to cut my pieces of wood. These have been cumbersome and wobbly, and not particularly easy to work with. I picked up this Parkside Foldable Workbench for about $30 at a local hardware store, but I've seen it online for anywhere between $25 and $60. It is sold under a bunch of different brands. The table is comprised of two boards designed to act as a vise by opening and closing in the middle using two-hand cranks. This is a great design, but one of the pins that attaches a turn handle fell out almost immediately. I used some epoxy to fix it and reinforce the other handle at the same time. The tabletop surface is made from two MDF panels and comes with both a protractor printed in the middle and a tape measure along the bottom edge. One of the corners on my table chipped off after about a month's worth of use, which was disappointing. I sanded it down and filled in the gap with epoxy. The measuring tape along the bottom is also wearing away, but honestly I've never used it, so no big deal. There are also some saw marks and scratches that are of course expected. Apart from these minor issues, the tabletop has been sturdy and solid. Incorporated into the steel frame of the table is a small rack that can be used to hold tools. The holes are not very big and can support only small items like screwdrivers and maybe a pair of pliers. Mine are too big in this case. The only thing I use this tool rack for is bracing my foot on when I'm cutting on the table. The table comes with 4 plastic clamping jaws that can be positioned around the table depending on the need. They have relatively sharp teeth, so be extra careful when clamping wood, making sure not to impression the wood by clamping too tightly. Alternatively, you can use wood spacers to protect your project pieces. If the need arises, large pieces of wood can be secured vertically in the middle of the table. In order to lay the board flat, I'll adjust a couple of the clamps and tighten the vise. For long, narrow boards, I'll again adjust the clamps accordingly and secure the board in a few simple steps. I'll cut the end of this board to demonstrate how sturdy the table is when in use. Like I mentioned before, I find it helpful to place my foot on the tool rack to really support the table as I saw. There are different size ridges on either side of each clamp. These can be used to secure objects that are round. The clamps are carbon copies of each other, so you'll need to turn one of them around so the matching ridge sizes align when securing an item. I'll demonstrate with a broom handle. Again, you'll need to be careful not to damage your wood by tightening the clamps too far. There are a couple of triangular grooves in the middle of the table that can also be used to secure objects. Both round and triangular items can fit if they are not too big. Because the two-hand cranks work independently of one another, it is possible to secure items that have odd or unbalanced shapes. I found that securing a miter box to this workbench is both easy and effective. My box has a slight ridge underneath for anchoring against a straight edge, so I'll just place this ridge in the center table vise and crank it tight. Another option is to use these 2 screw slots on either side to attach it directly to the table. I actually prefer this method and simply reuse the 2 initial holes I made the first time I did this. Now for a few technical details. The table has a maximum load capacity of 330 pounds. The center vise opens to 3.5 inches. The widest clamping distance is 9.5 inches, with the inner clamps measuring to 4.25. The end holes measure to 6.75. The table top height is exactly 30 inches. Folding the table is a pretty straightforward procedure. First, the two support braces need to be slightly lifted on both sides. Next, the front edge needs to be pushed down as the back edge is lifted up. And finally, the legs can be tucked in. Here we can see the thin profile. Weighing in at just under 14 pounds, it can now be stored in a small space or hung on a wall. Final thoughts. While not the biggest nor sturdiest workbench out there, this model performs well enough for the price you pay. It is ideal for anyone with limited space or on a budget. Just remember, you get what you pay for. Well folks, I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it informative. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe.